And Pastor Hanzo and I are going to get started in the next part of our series called Hope Rising. So if you're joining us for the first time, we've been in a series called Hope Rising. And today we're going to talk about some ways in which you can have more hope rising.
That's right. Good morning, everybody. If you're brand new to the church, I'm Hanzo. And like Pastor Dave said, we're going to be sharing the message together today. And so before we jump in, Dave, you were telling me about this story from when you were a kid. This is back in your childhood. And I just thought, man, it really sets up what we're going to talk about today. You wanna...
Okay, sure. Yeah, when we were preparing for this message, I was telling him when I was 6 years old, my parents took us on the mainland to a lake called Lake Powell. And if you've never seen it, it's in Arizona. And let me show you what it looks like. It's very beautiful. They have these huge cliffs and sandstone everywhere. It's just majestic. And one of the popular things to do there is cliff jumping, where you just jump off these steep cliffs into the water. And so I was 6 years old, and some of the people that came with us on the trip, we were swimming in the water, and the older kids decided to climb up the rocks and start cliff jumping. And I was watching it, and I was like, whoa, man, that looks fun, but no way I'm going to do that because, you know, that's too high. And so then the kids kept jumping, and then they finally said, hey, Dave, come join us. And I'm like, They're like, come on, man, you can do it. It's so fun, dude. Just come on, man, climb on up the rock. And finally, peer pressure got the best of me, and I climbed up the rock. And I remember standing over the ledge. I don't know if you remember, do you remember the first time you stood on a high diving board when you were a kid, and you looked over the edge, and you're like, oh, my gosh, I'm going to die. Like, it looked so far below, or maybe it was the first time you jumped into the ocean off of a rock on the side, and, you're like, oh, so far. So I had all of those feelings that you probably had when you were a kid. I felt excitement, I felt apprehension, I felt fear, I felt dread, and I felt peer pressure. And so the kids were in the water below, and they're like, come on, Dave, just jump, man. You're going to love it, man. Just do it. And I was like, you know. And I'm all afraid and stuff. And I was like, oh, gosh, but I want to do this, you know, because I saw they're having such a good time. And it's water. I'll be okay. And then I'm just, like, freaking out. And they're like, come on, Dave, just jump. And I was like, okay. So finally, my heart was pounding. I had knots in my stomach. I just jumped. And I was like, and then I was swimming up, and I felt like I had gone down 100 feet. I was like, oh, I didn't drown. Oh, I'm still alive. And man, it felt like I jumped off a 100-foot cliff, but it was only like 10 feet high. It was kind of like that. But when I came to the surface and I caught my breath, I was like, that was fun. And you know what I did? I did it again. I climbed out of that water, and man, we jumped for hours and hours. And then I got even more confident, and I'm like doing cannonballs, you know, like, yeah. And I thought, man, if that is not what it's been like for us serving Jesus, like where he's like, just jump, man, trust me. Let me lead you into my plans for your life, yeah? And we're going to talk about that today.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's one of those things where the Lord wants us to jump into all that he has planned for us, right? And there's so many things that keep us from that, fears and whatnot. But when we finally do, just like you experienced, you know, with this, we experience joy and we experience excitement and all these things when we actually do jump in and serve the Lord. And we really want to talk about that today because we believe that God really wants to highlight that today. And so we say it this way here at the church. If you've been around, you've heard this before, but I was saved to serve Jesus. Isn't that right? Can I get an amen? Amen. That was okay. I'm gonna have you guys talk to each other now because that wasn't that good. So turn to your neighbor and tell someone next to you, I was saved to serve Jesus. I know you don't really want to talk to each other, but turn to the next person next to you, the other side that you didn't want to talk to at first for whatever reason, and now you tell them you were saved to serve Jesus. Yeah. So see, I think when it comes to, when we say that, when we hear that, I know there are maybe two different types of us. When we hear that and say that, some of us think, oh yeah, I love to serve Jesus. I was saved, I love Jesus, love to serve him, and we feel good about that. But others of us, if we're just honest, maybe when we say that or hear that, we think, you know, I feel kind of like guilt. I feel a little bit ashamed because I'm not serving Jesus. Or maybe it's just that you don't know how, and no one's ever explained that to you. And we want to talk about that today because it's a big part of God's plans for your life. And so we're going to talk about how do you do that? How do you actually serve Jesus? And so the next slide is going to give us a good example here, because serving Jesus means serving him in all of these areas, right? It's not just in church like sometimes we typically think. Yeah. It's serving Jesus at home, in your family, with your spouse, at work, serving him in your community. And so it's serving him everywhere. In fact, this is how the book of Colossians says it in the Bible. It says, everything you say and everything you do should be done for Jesus, your Lord. And so when you read something like that, how does that make you feel? Yeah. How does that make you feel?
How does it, okay, just be really honest with yourself. So Jesus wants you to serve everywhere. Do you feel like being a servant everywhere you go? You always feel like serving at home? Don't lie to me. You always feel like serving at work? Not always. You always feel like serving at church?
Yes.
We got a few. Yeah. Yes, Pastor, yes. But the reality is we don't always feel like serving, and Jesus knew that. In fact, Jesus didn't always feel like following God's plans for his life. Just look at him the night before he went to the cross. He was trying to get out of it. And so Jesus knows that we don't always want to serve him. And so what he did was he decided to incentivize us, to motivate us, to bless us when we serve him. Because he knows we need a carrot dangled in front of us to do some of the things that he wants us to do here on earth in the area of serving him. And so let me show you a scripture that kind of illustrates this so well. And it happens in the story of the Last Supper. So this is the night before Jesus went to the cross. He's having his final meal with his closest followers, his disciples. And then Jesus does something that no king would ever do. He grabs a towel and he starts washing stinky toe cheese, messy, smelly, stink feet. And this was not something in the day that any person would do besides a servant. Only servants did this. Now, why did Jesus do this? I mean, he was going to go to the cross the next day. Why did he do this? It was an object lesson. He was trying to give us a visual reminder of, here it is, what he wants us to do every single day. He wants us to put a towel over our arm and have a servant's attitude. Now, to motivate us to do that, because Jesus knows we don't always like to do that, here's what he says he's going to do. Watch this. John 13, Jesus says, I've given you an example to follow. In other words, I've just washed your feet. You need to be a servant too. Do as I've done to you. And now that you know that I want you to serve me and serve others, here's what I'm going to do. Say it with me, all of our locations. God will bless you for serving me, for doing these things that I've asked you to do. So God promises he'll bless you, and he knows that he needs to do that because sometimes we just don't feel like serving. And so we put together a video, just asked some of our servants, like, what are some of the ways that God has blessed you as you've served? We wanted you to hear that, so take a look at this.
Every week, there's so much that goes on here at our Kaneohe campus so that we can have our Sunday services. Our volunteer tech and production teams serve humbly behind the scenes, operating cameras, soundboards, lights, and more. Let's go behind the scenes to meet some of our amazing Frontlines volunteers.
What I enjoy about serving is the people that I get to serve with. I feel like everybody's here for the same reason, to serve God, to serve people, to love God, and to love people. And I think by having a common goal and going somewhere together, it makes it a lot of fun.
You know, I really enjoy serving because I'm serving with a bunch of people that want to do the same thing. They want to get out the message that the pastors share with us and get that out to the rest of the Christian population here.
I knew that the sound ministry was in need of volunteers, and so I got involved. And since then, I don't know, it's grown on me, and God built that passion.
I like helping people. I like being a part of a community. And I think just taking that step forward and just to help glorify God and bring people into his presence.
What kept me from serving in the past was myself. I kept sitting back, and after a while, I started getting a feeling. And maybe it was God talking to me saying, you need to do more.
Something that has kept me from taking a step forward is fear. Being kind of fairly new to the church, I was always afraid to kind of take that step forward.
I would say serving has changed my life because I have another family. It's another part of the church family that has made me feel more connected to God.
Seeing everyone come together for the same thing provokes me to want to do more.
And it's changed me in a lot of ways. I have friends that, come by every now and then to church. They see me and they say, oh, they can't believe that I'm serving. So it's good to see that they knew the old me, and I'm a whole different person now.
Everybody just lifts each other up, and so I get all of these feelings, and I leave here actually feeling still full of energy.
Serving does really make me feel fulfilled after I leave, and knowing that I, do my part in furthering His kingdom.
It just fills my heart, and just even seeing the church, worshiping with their arms raised. That's one of my favorite things to see. And just knowing that I can help usher someone into the presence of God and knowing He'll meet them in that exact place, it fills my heart.
Serving in a ministry like the ones you've just seen is a part of God's plan for your life. And just like you saw, God doesn't require for us to be experts. He just wants us to serve somewhere. When you do, there will be a greater sense of joy and purpose in your life.
Wasn't that great? Can we just thank our volunteers, our amazing,
yeah, do
awesome
Windward volunteers. Hey, show your love to the volunteers when you see them.
Yeah.
Just tell them thank you for serving, because they do such a great job.
Yeah, and in that video that we just saw, they shared some of these blessings that we talked about, the things that Jesus says, I will bless you when you serve me. They talked about that, and we want to highlight some of those things, and this is in Scripture as well. But a lot of them talked about joy, just that sense of, I just love coming to serve the people, and I leave being filled with joy. And I know we hear that every Sunday.
The time.
Constantly. And so it's just true, because it's one of the things that Jesus does, one of the ways He blesses us when we serve. Another way that Jesus blesses us when we serve Him is it changes lives. And, it changes your life. It changes the lives of others. Mm-hmm. And I know that in my own life, but I also know because when I get to talk to some of you in the church and of our volunteers, I've heard so many stories, constantly, of how God is changing lives, how He's repairing marriages, how He's helping resolve conflict, how He's answering prayers. And there's just so many different things, so many ways that God changes lives because we all come together and we serve. So.
Yeah, and another blessing is that serving Jesus has helped you stay closer to God. And isn't it true that it's real easy to get busy in life and kind of drift from your relationship with God? Yeah. It's so easy to stop going to church. And I was talking to a volunteer recently. I've heard this. I even heard it today from another volunteer. But they said, man, I have to serve because it helps me stay closer to God. And this one volunteer told me recently, they said, if I don't come to church, or if I don't serve in a ministry, I probably will skip church some because I like to sleep in. And so serving gets me to come to church. And then this person said, and then when I come to church, I get to hear the message, and I get to experience God and get filled with joy. And so they said, so Dave, I have to come to church. It helps me so much. And I have to serve in a ministry. And I was like, it makes sense. So when you serve God, it kind of helps you stay accountable to God. It keeps you closer to Him. And so that's one of the blessings of serving. And then another one is that Jesus promises to lead you into discovering more of God's plans. And I've said this so many times if you've been around, but I always say this: you can't steer a car that's parked, but once a car starts moving, you can steer it. And once you start serving in a ministry, God will gladly steer you into the various ministries that He wants you to be in. The very first ministry I served in was the sound team. And you say, well, how did that happen? I came home from church one day and my wife said, I signed you up to serve in the sound team. We call that voluntolding somebody. And I was like, why'd you do that? She's like, well, because you always had an interest in it. I was like, I don't know how to run a soundboard. I was like, but thanks. Yeah, I'll figure it out, And that was my first ministry. And I had no idea that God would then steer me into speaking on stage and be on the setup and takedown team and all these different ministries, eventually landing me here. And so once you start serving, you'll discover more of God's plans for your life. Another blessing of serving Jesus is that He will reward you. Tell us about this, because this one's big.
Oh man, yeah, Jesus talks about this a lot. He talks about rewarding you for serving him, not just in heaven, which is kind of what we think, like, okay, we'll get rewarded in heaven, but he says in the present age. That means today.
Right.
And I just know for myself, I've experienced so much of his rewards in a lot of different ways. It comes through just being like blessed emotionally, spiritually, financially, vocationally, like just this job, being able to work with the most amazing senior pastor in the whole world. Everybody thinks I'm lying. I don't know what that's all about.
They're like, he's lying.
Well, it kind of is a little bit, but no, it's not. But yeah, there's just so many things that God has done as rewards because I started serving him 11 years ago. It's just...
And it's motivational, right?
It is, it really is. And God is just, he's good. He's true to his word. He's going to bless when we serve. And so even though there's so many blessings of serving Jesus, and we just went over a handful, there's more that we could find, there's still things that keep us from serving him, right?
Yeah.
Even though we know, okay, there's these great rewards, these blessings, there's things that kind of prevent us from doing that. And we want to get into what those things are, these barriers, these roadblocks that kind of trip us up. And so if you were to finish this sentence, if we ask you to serve Jesus and you kind of had a resistance, how would you answer this sentence? I'm not blank enough to serve Jesus. What would you say? I think some of us would say, well, I just don't feel like I'm talented enough to serve Jesus, or I'm not skilled enough.
Right.
Some of us might say, I'm not holy enough to serve Jesus. Like I feel like I don't know the Bible well enough, or I'm still sinning. I have all these bad habits. I'm not holy enough. And I think that whatever it is, it kind of boils down to this right here, which is feeling I'm not good enough. Do you ever feel like that? You ever feel like that?
Yeah, I've shared before. It's kind of sad to say this, but I've been serving Jesus for a couple decades now, and my wife will attest, she's sitting right over there, that I still at times feel like I'm just not good enough to serve Jesus, and especially as a pastor.
Yeah, totally.
And we're not alone. Many of you know of a pastor named Craig Rochelle. He pastors the largest church in America. And this church happens to have 80,000 people that come to their services on the weekend. This is a huge church.
That's all?
And Pastor Craig will tell you that even to this day, he feels like this. I'm not good enough to serve Jesus. And yet, look at how God's used him. And he says, well, there's many reasons I struggle with this, but one of them is because I've made a lot of mistakes. And he talks about the first funeral he ever did. Here's what Pastor Craig writes. He says, the granddaughter of the deceased wanted everyone at the funeral to sing Amazing Grace. Now, I can't carry a tune, Craig says. Nevertheless, before the grieving family and friends, I began to sing this grand old hymn. Unfortunately, everyone, including the granddaughter, left me hanging singing alone. People glanced around awkwardly with a look like, why would someone who sings so badly attempt to sing Amazing Grace as a solo? Then while singing the song, a fly zips into my mouth. It's true, he writes. I thought, what do I do? Do I cough out the fly? Or do I swallow it to avoid more embarrassment?
Oh, that's so gross.
Well, I gulped it.
Oh my gosh.
I ingested it and finished the song. Can you imagine that? Amazing grace, how sweet.
A little vibrato going on in little buzz.
He goes on to say, as I was ready to wrap up the funeral, I prayed a short prayer. I just wanted everything to end. In my most authentic pastor's voice, I began a famous ending prayer at funerals. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And then my mind went completely blank. I couldn't remember the rest of the prayer. And I thought, oh no, these people are so sad. Maybe I should say something witty to comfort them. So I ended the prayer this way. So here's the prayer again. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And then he said this, I hope this coffin doesn't rust. That's so bad. And then he says this, that didn't go over so well. And then he ends this by saying, did I ever mention why I feel that I'm not good enough to serve Jesus? And we laughed so hard when we read this because we were thinking about all the times we said stupid things up here, all the times we've messed up in ministry.
Yeah.
And I just thought, man, I'm so glad that Pastor Craig didn't allow his mistakes, his I'm not good enough, keep him from serving Jesus.
Yeah.
Because look at how God's used him now. There are now like 27 locations, and 80,000 people are probably so thankful that Craig didn't let this keep him from serving Jesus. And so you need to know that you will make mistakes serving Jesus because you're human, but there's forgiveness and grace for that. And so the key to serving Jesus is to do this. You just keep getting back up. Like, just don't stop. You fall down, get back up. That's what I do. When I mess up here, I just go, okay, I got to show up again, man, because people need Jesus. Aren't you glad that God uses imperfect people? Maybe you're not so glad God uses imperfect people. I guess we're okay for you guys.
And I think what's important is when we have those similar thoughts like Pastor Craig shared, or when we just feel like we're not good enough, it really helps to just consider like who Jesus hung out with, right? Like, who are the people that Jesus chose as his disciples, those closest to him? Who did he hang out with? I mean, he hung out with, and if you read the New Testament, you see he hung out with not people who were religious, not people who thought, oh, I am good enough, I am qualified. He hung out with people who were partiers. There were many of them cheaters, liars, thieves even. Some of them were prostitutes. And these are all people that the religious leaders of the day, they despised them. Like, they would never be seen hanging out with them. And Jesus is saying, no, these are the people that I want to be around. These are the people that I want to do this ministry with. And so these were just regular, insecure people who felt like they weren't good enough, just ordinary people like you and me. And I think that's really encouraging.
That's super encouraging. And we see a classic example of this in Acts chapter 4, where Peter and John were interrogated about preaching Christ. And so the writer of Acts, his name is Luke, and he recounts the scene that's happening. So let me show this to you. So the crowd, when they saw the courage of Peter and John, they just shared their first sermon, kind of like Craig's first funeral. They just shared their first sermon, and the crowd is like blown away at their courage. And then they realized they were blown away because they were, look at this, they were unschooled, ordinary men. These guys had never gone to seminary, and they're preaching this killer sermon. They were astonished because they were so good at what they were doing, and they took note that these men had been with Jesus. Now watch this. This is why you can serve Jesus. When you're with Jesus, he takes ordinary and does extraordinary. So when you serve, it's like him. He'll work through you. He'll fill in your weaknesses where you're not good at certain things. And so if you study the Greek, you know what this word ordinary in the Greek, you know what it is? Here it is. It's the word idiotes. Now, some of you are laughing because you're thinking of the word idiot, right? Because this is where we get the word idiot. It's from idiotes. And so the people, listen, this is it. The people Jesus chose to serve him were normal people. They were idiotes. They were idiots.
Okay. I'm glad you pointed to yourself too, because I thought I made a compliment to you.
Well, I wanted to start with the biggest idiotes first.
Well, you can take your pick, really, because it's plural. So there's two of us. There's more than
very
one.
True. So this word means just ordinary, untrained, unskilled. Like, if you don't feel good enough, you are totally qualified, because Jesus doesn't call the qualified.
Yeah.
He qualifies the called.
That's good.
You just got to show up.
That's good.
And so it's not about skill and, oh, I'm so spiritual and, oh, I'm so holy. Jesus would be like, not really interested in you. I came for the unrighteous. That's who I came for. I'm going to use them. So if you feel like you're not good enough, you're exactly the type that God wants to pick to serve him.
That's right. So on top of feeling like we're not good enough, there's other things that can keep us from wanting to serve Jesus.
Yeah.
Another big one is this one. Have you ever thought this? I'm not available enough.
Yeah. I'm too busy.
I'm too busy.
Yeah.
I don't have time. I have too many things going on. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that we can fill up our schedules with that we can think, oh, I don't have the time. Or, a perfect example is like if you're a parent and you have young kids, like I do. I have 4 young kids, and my wife, when she is getting them ready to come to church, if you're a parent of young kids, it is a miracle just getting kids dressed and out of bed and to church like reasonably on time. That's a miracle, right? Yeah. And so to add another thing like serving on top of that, like how do you add these miracles on top of miracles. And so there's so many things that could be legitimate reasons as to why we're not available, right? So if you genuinely are busy, you're traveling, that's a legitimate thing. Or you could maybe have, say, like a disability that prevents you from being able to serve. So there are legitimate things that would prevent you from being available to serve. But I think what's really important to talk about is how, if we're honest, sometimes we just make up excuses, right? If we're just honest, we make up excuses because for whatever reason we don't want to, and when it comes to church stuff, we just try to make up a good answer that sounds kind of righteous, right? And it makes us feel better about it. But even back in Jesus' day, there were people who made excuses as to why they couldn't follow or serve him. Here's an example out of Luke 9. Another person said, Lord, I will follow you, but first, here comes the excuse, let me go back and say goodbye to my family. It's like, it sounds kind of good, right?
Yeah.
But then Jesus is looking at the heart behind that, and he replies, no one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for service in the kingdom of God. So
strong words.
Kind of strong words. But really, all he's trying to do, he's not trying to guilt this person. He's just trying to say there's a commitment to following me, and you need to examine yourself. If that's what you really want, then what's preventing you from doing that, right? It's kind of like we make up all these excuses. I remember being in high school, and there are so many days that I just didn't want to go to school, you know? And it's not that I really wasn't available, I just didn't feel like it. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? You guys all went to school? You guys all had perfect attendance? Good for you. Good for you. So anyway, you know, there's so many mornings my dad would be like, time to get up and go to school, and I'd just pull the blanket over my head, and I'd be like, put on my sick voice, like, oh, Dad, oh, I'm so sick. I'm so sick, I can't go to school today. And then some days he'd let it slide, and some other days he'd just rip off my blanket and be like, idiotes! And, you know, throw me in the car.
Kind of Japanese voice right there, huh?
Yeah.
Idiotes, hi.
Yeah. My dad does speak Greek, you know, in Japanese. So.
That's funny.
So, you know, but, you know, like we make up excuses because we just don't want to, you know? And I think sometimes we make those same excuses to our Heavenly Father when it comes to serving, you know? But there's so many blessings that come from it, you know, and it's just pushing past all that.
Yeah, it's sometimes I think our biggest enemy is ourself. You know, it's like to discovering God's plans, enjoying the thrill of serving God and all these blessings is we got to push past the excuses. That's what Jesus is saying here.
That's right.
That's his point. And we all have to do it. I mean, there's still times God asks me to do things. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. You know, God in December says, give away your wife's car. I was like, well, I'm glad it's not my car. And I was like, but I still don't want to give away her car. Like, okay, we'll give it away. And, you know, so there's just things that you don't want to do at times. You got to push past that. So, you were saved to serve Jesus, right? I was saved to serve Jesus. And I think the message today, what he's saying to us is this. He wants you to jump in and serve him. Mm-hmm. And it's not just at church. He wants you and I to have a servant's attitude at home. You know, he wants us to have a servant's heart at work towards our boss and our coworkers. Because when we have a servant's heart, we're being like Jesus. And he's saying, listen, I know you don't want to serve all the time, but I will bless you if you choose to not always follow your feelings. I'll make it up to you, he's saying. And he really does. And so he's encouraging us as we kind of stand on the ledge to just jump in. And it's like he's in the water below saying, just jump, I got you, I'll catch you. It's going to be okay. No, it looks kind of far down there, God. I don't know if I'm talented enough to serve you. Just jump, man. I'll work through you. I don't know, God, I'm kind of busy, you know. Hey, we have to go to farmer's market after church today. That's really the only reason we came to church. Certainly not because of this loser up there. Why are you guys laughing so hard at that? And he's like, just jump. And he's like, come on, man. And this is what I'm going to do in your life. I'll give you more joy. Serve me. I'll give you joy at home. Serve me. I'll give you joy at work. I'll give you joy at church. And then I'll change your life in the midst of it. I'm going to change you slowly but surely. And you'll become more of who you really want to become. And you'll still be a sinner, but you'll sin less. Jump in. Serve me. And I'll not only change your life, I'm going to change thousands of lives. I'm going to save marriages through your part on the team at New Hope Windward. And I'm going to help people not commit suicide who come here every weekend. They want to take their life. You know how many suicides have been thwarted because of this ministry, because our volunteers served? Every Sunday, somebody doesn't take their life. He changes lives. And I'll use you to lead hundreds and hundreds into life with me and my plans for them. And I'll help you raise up 500 kids every weekend who will one day follow me and when they're really going to need me, because it's not looking good in the future, the way this world is turning out. I'll change lives. And then you'll discover my plans. You just jump in. I'll lead you where I want you. I'll gladly lead you there. You just jump. And I'll reward you not only in eternity, but I'll reward you here. I was telling the last service, I think one of the greatest rewards when we get to heaven, and there's going to be tons of rewards. In fact, Jesus said, get this, he said, even if you give a cup of cold water to a child for me, I'll reward you even for that. Anything you do for Jesus on your job, he'll reward. Anything you do for Jesus at your home, your family doesn't reward you, Jesus will. He'll reward everything. But the greatest reward in heaven, I think, is going to be this. When you take your final breath and you're whisked up into heaven and you see Jesus face to face and you look him in the eyes for that very first time, and you're going to see these eyes of love and unconditional acceptance. You're going to see this powerful Lord and this almighty God who's crazy about you, madly in love with you, loves you unconditionally. And he's going to look at you in the eyes and go, welcome. And you're going to hug, and I guarantee you're going to cry. The Bible says we're going to be crying. He's going to start wiping the tears from your eyes. And then, if you're faithful to him on earth, the Bible says you'll hear these words. Well done, Galen. My good and faithful son. My servant. Well done. He's saying, well done, my good and faithful servant. You served your family. You served my church. You served at work. You served me. Well done. And I'm telling you, in that moment, every sacrifice you made for your family, at your job, for the church, all those times you didn't want to get up and serve in the morning because you wanted to sleep in like me today, you're going to go, it was worth it. It was worth it. It was worth it. And then he's going to say this, the Bible says, now come on in and enjoy in all of my happiness, all of my rewards for you, that you get to enjoy for trillions and trillions of years. And I'm telling you, all of us at that moment, we're going to go, it was worth it all. Totally worth it. But I got to tell you, Jesus gives another story where he says not everybody's going to hear that. Our job as pastors is to prepare you for that gathering with him, where you get to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. Because not everybody's going to hear that, sadly. And some people will enter heaven with huge regrets. Huge. And we want you not to have that. So respond today. Maybe you served before and the ministry wasn't a good fit. It's okay. I've told this before, but the first ministry my wife served in 2 decades ago was the kids ministry. After 2 Sundays, she's like, I don't like kids. And don't get me wrong, like, we love our kids, okay? We just don't like your kids. Totally kidding. That was funny. That was funny. No, we do love your kids. We just don't want to serve them. And that was funny too. But my point is this. You know what she found out is that God hadn't called her to serve kids. It wasn't fulfilling for her. But then she got invited to serve on a prayer team. And she was not a person of great prayer back then. And you know, she realized that God had gifted her to pray. And my wife prays for all of you every single week. She prays for this church every week. If you ever ask her to pray, she'll pray for you for hours during the week, because that's what God's called her to do. So my point is, if you served before in a ministry and it didn't fit you, just try another one until you find that one where you're like, man, this is what I was made to do. Because when you do, the blessings of it are so great. And when you use your gift, oh man, we get so blessed because you're good at it. You're gifted at it. When you don't use your gift, you don't get blessed and we don't get blessed. And so what God's saying today is jump in, man. I want to use your gifts. You're so talented. You're so gifted. Let me use you in this church. If you think this church is big, it's not. There are thousands of people he wants to bring here, but we need more volunteers in order to serve them well.
That's right.
You jump in, God will just bring as many people as we can handle. He's just waiting for people to move from the bleachers onto the playing field. And so I'm telling you, just jump in. He'll catch you, and you'll be so glad you did it. Amen?
Amen.
So worth it. So worth it. So tell us, how do we jump in?
Exactly. So how do we do it? We have for you today some things that you can do to jump in to serve and experience all these things. And we have what's called a Serving Expo. And so there's a number of things that you can do. In your bulletin, you can take out this flyer. And this has just a list of our ministries that you can serve in. And just scan through these things and ask the Lord, where do you want me? Or just ask yourself, what am I good at? What do I like to do? Yeah. Maybe you are good with kids. Maybe you're actually one of those people who like to serve kids, right? Not like you, but or not like me either, because I don't like to do that, right? I'm not called to do it. But if you are, I mean, man, the church could use your help. From Kids Zone to junior high to high school, all of our youth. Yep. If you're a person who maybe you just want to help out wherever there's the biggest need, or you like to do like manual labor type stuff, the Levites, which is set up and takedown, that would be a great place for you to start. So if you're just like, I'll help wherever there's the biggest need. I mean, every team has a need, but in setup and breakdown, we're a portable church, so that's a great
ministry to serve in. I served in that for years. It's fun.
Yeah, and so those are some things that you can do. We have some more down here.
Counting team, if you're good with numbers and details. Serve in Central, you prepare food. If you like to cook food, we have a great ministry for that, and we'll actually pay for the food. You just prepare the food.
And I'll eat it.
And Hanzo will eat it,
I'll eat all of it. Yeah.
And then I like the security ministry.
Yeah.
Like some of you guys, like you're all buff, and you just stand there and you're like, oh, intimidating. And people feel secure around you. And we'll give you a security shirt, and you can stand by our kids' ministries and just protect those kids. And can you imagine me and Hanzo in a security shirt? It's like,
hey guys, back up, man.
It's like a joke,
all the kids would get kidnapped.
Yeah, so we need some of you bratas, like Hanzo, just up there, like, they're like scary. In a good way, scary for Jesus. All right. Buff for Jesus. So guest services, you just like to help connect other people. You like info church, helping people take their next steps. Bathroom ministry, decorate and inspect the bathrooms. Ushers and greeters, man, so many of you could be ushers and greeters. And you just welcome people. You like people. Now, if you don't like people, don't be an usher or greeter, okay? Ushers and greeters are a great ministry to start in. Prayer ministry, stagehand, they help set up everything here on stage. And you would think we have all kinds of, we have lots of volunteers, but all these ministries still need a few more. Yeah. Sunday production team, they help make sure all the lights come on, mics and all that. Maybe you have a CDL license, or you just like to drive trucks. We have trucks we'd love to have you drive. And then this is a big one. I don't want you to miss this, because a lot of people avoid tech ministry. They think, it's too technical. I would say probably almost everybody who serves in our tech ministry never served in a tech ministry before. They never run a camera or a soundboard. Maybe you have an interest in that. You like cameras, lights, technology, something in that arena. We provide all these ministries. We will train you in, so no experience is required. And that's kind of cool, too, is you learn a new skill. Like, you and I have learned so many new skills serving Jesus here. And so it's really cool. So I would say check out our tech ministry. They're a blast to serve with. And that ministry does so many great things for Jesus. So these are the ministries and what you can do. Hanzo, tell us what they can do if they fill out this form.
Yeah, so definitely put your information down and then write down the ministry of one that you want to serve. And if you already know what that is, you can put that down. You can put two, but we encourage you just to start with one and test drive it. And you're not locked into it for life. It's just a test drive, Yep. And then so if you're already serving in something, you can put that down over there. But go ahead and just put something down in there. And then you can turn that in to any of our ushers. If you don't have the flyer or if you need a pen, you can just lift up your hand right now, all of our theaters, all the locations, and then they'll gladly give you one if you need one. And so you can fill this in, you can hand it into an usher, or you can take it out into the lobby at your location, and then you can also visit any of the ministry tables and turn it in. So if you sign up for tech, you don't have to turn it in at tech. You can turn it in at any of those tables that you want. And I think we'd recommend, if you don't know where you want to serve, to just go out and visit the Serving Expo.
Yep.
And you can ask questions. You can talk to the volunteers, the leaders that are at the tables, and ask them, oh, what is this about? And they'll be happy to talk to you and answer any questions. So you can either drop the flyer with an usher, take it to the Serving Expo, or just go and visit any of the tables at the expo.
Yeah, and so that's it. If you go ahead and just stand up where you're at, I'll conclude here. So, I've talked to a lot of people in the lobby, and quite frankly, a lot of people are like, I don't know what ministry to serve in. And some of you are probably feeling that way too. And I would do what Hanzo just said, just go out there and just check out the ministries and just see if something kind of grabs your attention, start talking to the people. Here's the cool thing at our church, okay? So if you sign up for a ministry, it does not mean you're locked into it. Right. Aren't you glad for that? You're not glad for that? Okay.
They want to be locked in,
I'm glad for that. Yeah. But you're not locked in. You're test driving a ministry. When you test drive a car at the dealership, you just drive it to see if you like it. When you serve at New Hope Windward, you test drive a ministry. You see if it fits. If not, we'll gladly help you find another ministry that fits you. So you just jump in. Come to our orientation this Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. At Anchor Church, and we'll guide you in the process. We have backstage tours happening next Sunday and the following Sunday, and we'll just guide you. Again, you start serving, Jesus will start steering you, okay? Last thing I want to say is just this. I know a message like this makes some of you feel really guilty. Some of you are like, I'm not signing up for a ministry, and I feel kind of bad about that. You don't feel guilt, okay?
That's right.
That is not coming from us. That is not coming from Jesus. So don't ever leave here feeling guilty. Now, if you feel like God's kind of nudging you, jump. Then go check it out and just jump in. Check it out and let him lead you in what he's trying to guide you to do. You'll be glad you did it. Amen, everybody? Amen. Okay, so we're going to say a quick prayer, and then we'll be done.
Yeah, let's pray. Let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for the fact that we are saved to serve you.
Yes.
And God, I pray for every single person that you're nudging to just jump off, that you give us the courage and the faith to go ahead and just jump in. And it's going to be, we're not going to regret that. And I just know, Lord, that you're telling each and every person here, you are so much more gifted, you are so much more talented than you know. And I'm going to bring out so much more in you as you jump in and serve. So I pray for those things in Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen, everybody. Let's thank the Lord. Have a great day.